And
Yeah.
there is some guilt that has been playing in this for me,
Yeah.
right? It's not because I want to be their mommy for the rest of their lives. It's not because I kneel and kiss their feet. It's because I've been trying to heal my relationship with them since 2017.
You're listening to the Nacho Kids podcast, where we discuss all things step-family related. Real stories, real people, real help. Your hosts are the creators of the Nacho Kids Method and the Nacho Kids Academy Step Family Coaching Team, Lori and David Sims.
Today we have a step couple. Hey, step couple, how are you?
Hello.
Hi.
So tell us a little bit about your blend.
So we have two boys and one girl, and the boys are mine, and they are 20 and 22.
And the girl is mine, and she's 18.
Okay.
And blending, we've been blending since 2023, and the blend has been going, I would say, better than average with my kids, and I would say somewhat below average for his daughter.
I would agree with that. And there's reasons for that. So a little bit of the history here as to why the stepkids react to the way we are, and the way we're trying to blend it and everything that's happened. We'll fill in and we'll get into all that here in a minute.
Your wife was on our podcast episode 294 and 295, and she said something, and you thought it was important that people know why some of the behavior is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you historically look back, the bigger picture of where we started in our life, and then one of the reasons we are where we are now is we've known each other since 1984. We dated on and off in junior high. We dated on and off in high school. We went to college together. We dated in college, and then we went off our separate ways after bachelor school and graduate school into teaching, and then kind of went off on our life in our own different paths. Now, there's always been that connection, that drive to be with each other, the understanding, the love that we've had for each other, whether it blurred that friend line out of respect for others at the time. There's different ways, different conversations that we can have about any of that. But all of that leads us up to where our respective marriages ended for their own reasons. Okay, mine failed for the reasons me and Bio Mom had within ours, and hers ended for her reasons with Bio Dad and hers. Now, we were talking, and it's fair to say that we kind of helped the end of the marriages along on our own, in ways where we don't have to get into further description, but you can imagine where that went. And so, bringing that up to date, the kids are aware of that. And the reason that's important is because it becomes difficult when we have conversations with each other about what might be happening with her kids or my daughter, and how to cope with parenting them, or the way we feel about how the other one is actually parenting, gets difficult because there's hatred, there's bonding, there's anything on the spectrum that goes from I don't like her to we're sitting on the couch and Snapchatting in Florida. Okay, not Snapchatting. What's the other one? You know the one I'm talking about.
I have no idea.
The little no. The instant whatever it is. So one of these socials, that these kids play around with these days. So,
well, hang on. Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
I feel like the way that you started off didn't really explain what happened.
Okay.
So I just want to clarify, when you said that you both kind of sped up the end of your previous relationships.
We had an affair.
There you go. All right. I just want to make sure that's clear for people listening that
Yeah.
that's what's going on.
And both of our children found out about it. So mine, basically because my husband knew about it, but then also because my husband's ex-wife told their daughter when she was 13 years old what happened between us, and so that led to the sort of issues that he's been having with his daughter since, because biomom blames me and him, and so she exonerated herself from any part of having any part of the ending of their marriage, and took it out on him by keeping their daughter away from him.
And some of those issues are that I believe my daughter's been tainted in a way against me. There were periods of time over the last, let's go back. I mean, we call it D-Day in 2017, where we were officially found out. And since then, there's been periods of time that lasted over a year, more than once, where my daughter and I didn't talk. She wanted nothing to do with me, wouldn't answer texts, wouldn't answer the phone call, wouldn't come over. The parenting plan wasn't followed. So it can be extremely painful on me, just trying to deal with it and trying to spend time and see and let my daughter know that I love her. Now, in recent years, it has actually gotten a lot better. And this is where we talked about it previously, where what year are we in? We're in 2025. So end of 2023 around Christmas time is where things got quite a bit better, where she came around for Christmas, was spending time texting, talking. We'd go to breakfast, go to lunch. She would come here after we would work out, and that went into 2024.
That was all of us.
All of us.
So it wasn't just him and her, it was the three of us.
Three of us.
And sometimes the boys. The boys were involved in the family gatherings and stuff like that. So we were at the time actually blending with each other. It was wonderful. Yeah.
And then June happened, right? It was a big build up to June where we had our beach wedding down in Florida, and it was amazing. Close friends, family were there. My daughter was there. My wife's kids were there. Boys were there, and had a great time. And that's when I thought it was probably the best it ever was. And granted, there were a few small issues that we dealt with at the moment. Mm-hmm. And then summer happened, and another rift between my daughter and I, where she's spending on the credit card. I said, "You're not following the rules." I took the credit card away, and she got upset. But by this time, I had actually grown in a way where it didn't upset me. It didn't bother me. My response was, okay, if you're going to be upset, that's fine. Go ahead and be upset. Just we'll talk when you're ready to talk. She went off to college, started talking again, getting closer again, bonding again. And I'm actually going down there next weekend for dad-daughter's weekend with her sorority, which is going to be, actually, I'm really looking forward to it. Now, all of that being said, right, I'll talk about my daughter for just a minute, right? I know that it is difficult because in the past, there have been things said and done where my daughter has this hatred for my wife. And it's hard to understand it considering what happened end of 23 into 24. And then all of a sudden it just stops. And it's back to the same way it was before that. And it takes a toll on her. It really does. In a way that...
But what you're not saying that you haven't said is that she did stop talking to him. So once that whole situation happened with the credit card and she was upset about the money situation, then she stopped talking to him. And I think I also mentioned to you that she blocked him on social media. She took away her Life 360. She did all of these things to kind of push him away because she wasn't getting what she wanted. I mean, that's basically what was happening. And then very slowly, they gradually started talking to each other. It wasn't like you guys were all of a sudden fine.
Right.
There's always this time where she tries to punish him for, his behavior or not giving her what she wants.
Yeah.
Emotionally, mentally, or financially.
Now, all that being said, what happens is I like to spend time with her when I can, and that's very far and few in between when I get those moments. Now, things will happen along the way, and what happens is my wife gets upset about how I handle it or how I don't handle it according to how she feels. Okay. I mean that respectfully in a way, and just let me kind of expand upon this here a little bit, right? Because she's smart, she's brilliant when it comes to some of these things, and she has got really good foresight and really trying to help me step back and understand and see things from a bigger picture, which, over the last couple of years, I've been able to do that. I've grown in this situation, even though the relationship I have with my daughter hasn't. Let me explain that. When a long, long time ago, when she would get upset with me, I would get all bothered. My emotions would be hurt, would know what to do. Now she gets upset with me. It's okay. That's fine. I get it. I'll talk to you when you're ready to talk. And it's a different way of handling it. Now, the issue is my wife will get upset with the way that I handle or don't handle the situation with my daughter. And it becomes an issue between us when it's not necessarily an issue between me and my daughter anymore, because I've gone hands off. I've basically said, okay, you want to handle it that way, you want to go that route, that's fine. I'm not going to get sucked into that emotional turmoil anymore.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, and I agree with that approach, because it's a lot like what, you and I talked about before, is kind of letting them be how they're going to be, and, however it's going to work out. But for me, the problem is that there's never any consequences. Like she behaves however she wants, she acts however she wants, and he doesn't say anything to her about it. He just goes quiet and doesn't correct the behavior. So then, fast forward to the next part of the cycle, when it happens again, then she just behaves the same way because she doesn't respect him. So that there's no actual, and I don't mean it he doesn't have a parenting relationship with her because he's not been allowed to parent.
Mm-hmm.
So he has this relationship where she's in his life in spurts, and he doesn't even really have the chance to instill anything that's important, that's going to significantly impact her life in a positive way. It's these little spurts of conversations, and can you do this, and can you do that, and let's do this, and let's do that. It's all good because eventually it will grow into something else, and it will morph into a different, a part of their relationship as she gets older and she becomes an adult and things like that. But for now, she feels like she can just behave and do whatever she wants. That's how I feel about it. And I don't think you'll disagree because her behavior doesn't change.
Well, I will disagree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, simply because, and this is another issue that jumps what I say jumps that border and becomes a wedge between us, is that I'll have a conversation, whether it's over the phone or text, and I'll let her know. I'll say, this isn't right, or I don't feel that that's a good way to do it, or whatever it might be in that moment. Yeah, they're in spurts. It's not a constant parenting relationship that I have with her. But when those moments arise, it's, hold on a second. You need to think about what you're doing. Have you thought about this? Or try to lead her in a way where she comes to a conclusion that's better than what she was originally going to do. Now, my wife is not always present for those conversations, so she doesn't know that they happen. She doesn't witness it. So in a way, I can understand her position in this. but it's always after the fact where I have to tell her or whatever it might be. Now, the biggest issue, right, in the step parenting relationship is, so for example, my daughter was tainted in a way to hate me from the get-go for said reason, having the affair coming out and ultimately, as my daughter thinks, ended the relationship. But what she doesn't know, go back an episode, her mother had the affair, right? Tried to save the relationship, tried to save the marriage, couldn't save it, right? It failed on its own. We just happened to kind of get together at the tail end of it anyway and sped it up a little bit. Now, so there's this bond that bio mom and daughter have, right? And my wife thinks that I have a separation in our life, meaning that I'll go and spend time with my daughter and just completely shut this world off, right? And then come back and we live our life. Her concern is that I don't defend her and I don't shut down any negative talk or bad talk that my daughter may have or say about my wife or me or us, which isn't true. More often than not, conversation about us does not come up. But the way that I have changed recently over the last year or two is simply that I have those boundaries in place. You can't answer the phone.
Oh. Okay. I didn't. Duh.
My wife's concern is that, and she has a tendency to project negatively based on fears from the past. And granted, her fears are warranted with what happened many, many years ago. But I'm not in that same.
With y'all?
Yeah, with us.
Okay.
But I'm not in that same place. I've grown away from it, even though the relationship that I have with my daughter hasn't changed. Okay. I have. I don't let her walk over me. I don't let her say negative things or talk bad. Even to the point when I'm texting with her or talking with her, I talk about what we're doing today, what we're doing this weekend. So it isn't this complete separation in my life between my daughter and my marriage, even though the feeling from fears of the past creep up in a way where my relationship with my daughter has an effect on our marriage that way. So the problem is we have these moments. We had this moment where you got pretty close. You guys were texting each other and there was a relationship growing there. But then all of a sudden, my daughter took that all away. So we're back to square one again in trying to blend this side of the house back to a way where everything is copacetic, whatever word you want to use to describe it. It feels like we're not making any ground in the blending, and it makes it difficult between us when these issues come up with each of the biological kids. Now, for example, I know I'm rambling. I'll shut up here in a minute. My daughter has outwardly spoken about her dislike for my wife, where I believe son 2, while he doesn't outwardly speak it, he's a little bit more slick and a little bit more sly about it, where he keeps it on the down low and only talks to her about it.
But he has also blended. And Ryan, or my other son, has blended. So they've lived here. We've all been under the same roof a billion times. It's a completely different situation with my children. And that's what creates issues for us, because in my wrong opinion, I feel like he shouldn't have anything to complain about because my children are blending. My children are perfect.
Well,
right. I'm being facetious, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, well, what do you have to complain about? My boys are here. They're participating in our life. They're doing the birthdays. They're doing the holidays. They're doing everything together. They're on board. Now, are there issues? Yes, there are some issues sometimes. The youngest one, he fights me on it sometimes. But guess what? He's here.
but that by definition of blended, there's physically being here and participating and doing everything, but then there's also the emotional blending of being a true family. And that's what I was actually trying to get to. I think you're right. I think you're right. The boys are here, they're present, they're participating. However, in my narrow-minded prejudice and totally incorrect opinion, is that one is outwardly spoken, her mind about it. The other one is quietly defiant
But
about
it's not
it.
that simple. Your daughter chooses not to participate, and she chooses to make me.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just simply saying that it's difficult to blend one by truly what the definition is, but then, the different ways that the kids really are, the way they are, where the way their personalities are, we have to tackle them differently. And I think you're doing a great job, and I'm doing the best that I can with mine. But getting them to blend that way we want them to blend, we're never going to be the Brady Bunch, but we can do the best that we can. I don't think there's a true expectation or a benchmark that we should have to say this is how we want it, because it's going to be different day by day, week by week, month by month, where it's like, this is what we get right now. So let's do the best that we can with what we get. I mean, I could be.
Let me speak to that a little bit, and I'm going to give you what happened to me in that situation. So I'm not saying this is happening to you. When my kids were, I guess we both felt like they were the bigger part of the problem at the time because they were the most vocal about didn't like Lori, all this stuff.
They were younger,
So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They were a gang.
Yeah. They were younger and there were 4 of them. For me, it took me a while to realize that I often would nitpick things about her kid because for me, I had to say, even if it was only saying it to myself, I had to say, see,
And
yours
that
is
is
not
exactly
perfect either.
what's happening. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that. It's more like it makes me feel better. I know this sounds crazy. It makes me feel better knowing that other people have issues in the family, not just my kids.
So it bothers you that my son's perfect.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
He'll be glad to hear.
But it is, and this behavior extends far beyond families. I see it happen in the workplace and other places as well. Heck, we even do it with our dogs. She's got a dog and I have a dog, and we talk about how each other's dogs are stupid. So it's just a behavior that some people recognize it. I didn't recognize it at first. It took me a while to go, you know what? I'm really doing this because I don't want to be the one that feels like I'm having to deal with the issues and there's no other issues to be dealt with somewhere else.
I'm not saying that there aren't issues. There's issues. I feel like I almost feel lucky because I have a very open relationship with both of my children. So if there's a problem, I can face it head on. I can just say, this is a problem and I want to hear what you have, because they're adults, right? They're not little children anymore. So this is a problem. So we have to talk about this and get this out in the open. And how do we deal with it? And how do you feel about it? And so I find the more that I'm able to have these conversations with them, the better they feel about it. They feel like they're a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. So when I include them in it and I include him in it, then if that's to me, that's part of the blending, is being able to have those hard conversations, whether my husband is present or not. it's still about us blending. Because I do feel that there are times, especially with my
Yeah.
youngest one who gives us the hardest time of my children, that he's more comfortable having that alone conversation with me than with my husband around. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing, because
No, that's normal.
You know, you got the difference is you've got a better relationship with your kids than he does
Yeah.
with his, and so you have that
Yes.
ability right now
Right.
that he doesn't really have, because even if he's coming to your defense, he's also
Yes.
having to somewhat defend himself at the same time, because daughter's like, yeah, I don't like her,
And
but you're
here's
part of the problem too,
another
Dad.
part of problem for
And
me, is that sometimes I get resentful of him because of my husband, because he didn't speak up. He didn't jump in. He didn't say, I'm not going to let it go down this way. It makes me feel like it wouldn't be the way it is if he had maybe done it a little bit differently,
Yeah,
or held his ex-wife responsible for her bad behavior in his relationship with his daughter.
okay, well let me say something you're not going to like.
Yeah.
Can't change that.
Okay, so let's say you're 100% right.
Yeah. I know. But I get it.
Hang on there, Smiley. I'm getting you in a minute.
I'm not saying there's nothing to complain about, but what I am saying is you're looking backwards and you're looking at something that, okay, great, it happened, not great, but okay, it happened. What's next? What's the path forward? Not what's the path backwards. So you can acknowledge that all that happened, and you can acknowledge, and you have, that he should have done things differently. We don't know how that would have turned out, even if he had. We're speculating a lot of this. But at the end of the day, you have to say to yourself, okay, it happened. Now what? What's next? How do we move forward?
Yeah.
How do we keep going this direction? So I'm not dismissing your feelings at all. I'm saying feel them, talk about them if you want to talk about them, if you can. But at the end of the day, you got to put them, you got to bury them and say, all right, we didn't do this right, but how can we move forward and do the next thing right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to clarify a few things. How long have you
Since
been living together?
2023.
Okay, so when in 2023?
August 28th.
All right,
I'm
so
sorry, July
you're more
28th.
like a year and a half.
July
into this.
28th.
Yeah, year and a half. Yeah.
Well, we were engaged in August. He moved in July, engaged in August, and married legally in September. This all happened in the same year.
Okay. Regardless of why you and your exes split up, that's a lot for a child to go through in a short time frame. Was your daughter, was your daughter coming to see you then, staying with you at all? Or
when the divorce with Biomom happened, I bought a townhouse 2 miles away from where they lived, so I could stay close in the same town and be there. Plus, I mean, it was close to my work. It was everything, and back then it was the right thing. And plus, we weren't where we needed to be for me to just boom go straight into here, right? So that's when there was a lot of effort to try to bring her along. We spent a lot of time together at that townhouse, watching movies, doing homework, all sorts of stuff. Then we were in Arizona, and I think we were like, screw it.
But you should clarify that she never spent the night.
Oh, yeah, she never spent the night. Didn't follow the parenting plan at all. Spent the night one night because Biomom's house got skunked, and she didn't want to spend the night there because it smelled like skunk. So she spent the night over at my place. But yeah, didn't follow the
no, I know what you're thinking.
parenting plan whatsoever, and that's what my wife is basically talking about. Didn't do it, quote unquote, right back then, right? Didn't have the choice in the matter, really. But so that whole time period, then we said, screw it, we got to move forward with our life because she's not coming along. So that's when we decided, put that place on the market, sold it, went to literally drop papers off on a Friday, went to Florida, closed, proposed, came back, moved into this house.
You moved in first.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that by the week or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it is a lot for a child to kind of go through. And by the way, I'm the one going through it first. Biomom is going through it now, right? So you can decide to put this in or not. Just a different part of the story here is the house that I used to live in with Biomom and daughter. Biomom decided to stay in the house after we divorced, and for consistency for the daughter. Great idea, fantastic, that's fine. Subsidizing, whatever you want to call it, maintenance and child support, whatever you want to say about it, they stayed there. Just a month ago, the house was put on the market, it sold, they're moving. So daughter is coming home literally. The flight comes in like an hour, and she's going to help pack, and this is the last time that she's going to see the house. So why am I saying this? Because all the stuff that I went through earlier was the first exposure to big change with a parent for her. Okay. So she's already been through it all. So now, I talked to her about it like, hey, it's on the market. It's sold. Oh yeah, I know. I'm coming home. We're going to pack. Oh, you're going to move up to so-and-so, the Biomom's boyfriend's house. Yeah, we're going to live in there. And it's all like, oh, no big deal. Right. But I could be getting the 18-year-old girl response of, just give me the surface response and don't worry about it, Dad. Right. Not sharing or exposing anything that's going on over there because of that loyalty Biochild has with Biomom. So that kind of happened. Now, yes, 2023 is when we started living together and moving it.
And when did you move out of Biomom's?
2019 to 2023, I was in that place alone. 2023. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good.
Yeah, I thought you moved out maybe in June.
He had his place for quite a bit of time. And I think I mentioned before that both of us, he filed for divorce, I filed for divorce, but we were still living under the same roof with our ex-partners. Me for 2 years, him for 1 year. And
so when I moved in here, we made some of those quick attempts to acclimate me and the step boys, right? Where like I would help put up a rack in their rooms to help put up their computer monitors or the TV or whatever it might be. So
when we moved in here, because this
when you moved, when you moved in and I was still over there, I came over to help with the move and help set the place up, and I would help the boys with stuff that they needed. Just to, I'm not that bad of a guy. I can do these things. I love your mom. Let's get along. Let's try to make this all kind of work. Right.
I also had going for me that at the time that this was happening, so it's post-divorce, right? My ex-husband was not doing what his ex-wife is still doing, which is trying to poison the relationship, trying to, badmouth me all the time. I just talked to my son about it last night, and he said, Dad still doesn't, he really can't, to be honest with you, based on some of the things that happened with him, but he doesn't do that. So that's also a plus on my side where, she's.
Now we're doing pluses and minuses.
Well, no, that's not what I mean. What I mean is like, shut up. What I mean is like my stepdaughter, what she has going against her is that she has Biomom, in her ear constantly about the negativity. Whereas my boys don't have that. I didn't mean like it was better. I just meant that's shut up.
So anyway, I'm trying to build towards something from when you said, when did I move in here? So fast forward, right? When I actually moved in here, you know, my furniture, this, that, we kind of added some sofas here and all the normal stuff, right? But there were some things that I said we need to do. One is put an alarm on the house, right? Because I feel comfortable sleeping with an alarm on the house, right?
Also has anxiety.
A little bit. And so it has become an issue with number two, right? Because number two likes to go out in the middle of the night. He has a slight.
I realize you're calling your stepson number two.
Well, yeah, that's what they do. Number one, number two, number three. Yeah.
Thing one and thing
so
two.
Number two has a different schedule where he will wake up at 2 or 3 in the afternoon and then stay awake most of the evening. He has different interests than normal kids. He's into a lot of the gaming, a lot of the.
He's working.
Well, now he's working, but back then he was doing a lot of the gaming.
We're going backwards. We're going forwards.
Thanks, Dave.
That thanks. Oh, I hate y'all aren't going to be able to see.
All right, anyway,
now she jumped on the train.
Straight to the point. We are the parents of this house, regardless of who's living here. There are certain respectful rules that we have, right? Be in the house by a reasonable time, 12 or 1 o'clock, so we can put the alarm on and everybody can get a good night's sleep during the week, right? We got to get up and go to work. He doesn't want to follow that rule. Put the dishes in the dishwasher, not just drop them in the sink. Seems like a simple thing, right? Other things like that where it's like, I don't think I'm unreasonable for just simple things to be done within the house as just basic rules. And sometimes number two doesn't follow those rules and it's disrespectful to me. Now, as the step parent, I used to get bothered, right? It used to upset me. And I would get on my wife about it and say, you need to handle this. You need to handle this. And it would cause an issue between us. And then more recently, I've kind of let that go. Like, you know what? I can't do anything about it. It's not my kid. You want to handle it the way you want to handle it. That's great. I respect that. But we need to be on the same page. And sometimes I don't think that's happening because number two is a little on the sly and always tries to hedge her away from what we have agreed to that the house rules are. And there's a difference between parenting and being a mommy. A parent says,
difference between parenting and adulting.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Parenting is a parental role. A mom and a dad are parents.
I'm going to describe it a little bit differently, and then we can phrase it however we want to. A parent says, get your dishes, bring them down from the room, don't leave them in the sink, put them in the dishwasher. The mommy goes upstairs, rubs the back, takes the dishes for the child, and brings them downstairs and then puts them in the dishwasher. To me, that's a difference. One, parenting is setting the child up to go out into the world to help the child grow and be respectful and follow some sort of rules, that they're going to have to live by out in the real world. Mommying is the coddling where it's like, no, I'll take care of it for you. No, don't worry about it. But then
that way, that's the problem.
I know. And that's the rub. We don't see that the same way where me being the stepdad, it's like, I can't say anything where
I do, and you get mad at me.
I know, and I'm trying not to do that, right? Yeah. So the different view is, and I applaud her because, they're older. They're in their early 20s where they're not going to be around much longer. They're going to be out in the real world, living in their own apartment or with a roommate or doing whatever with a girlfriend or whatever. And they're going to have to do these things for themselves. But if they're not taught to do these things now, right, because mommy role is in place, where going upstairs, rubbing the back, taking the dishes, bringing them down for them, they're not learning that for themselves. And me as the step parent, that's where the issue comes between us, because I have a different view on how that should be handled than
So,
she does.
Using that example, what's happening here is what he's
Right.
not telling you is that they do it. They bring the dishes downstairs. But if I'm upstairs and they haven't brought them down
You
yet,
take them.
then I take them. I say goodnight. I rub the back. I grab the dishes and I go downstairs. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
Mhm.
They're my kids. I don't have a problem with
And
it.
you don't have a problem with
I'm
it.
actually
Right.
sometimes I'm happy to do it because they're home. Because they're not home anymore. They're in college
Right.
or they're wherever,
Right.
whatever they're doing. And my youngest now has a job. So, and he is a night owl. So he works at night and he sleeps during the day. And that's been a problem.
So
He doesn't set the alarm. Your kid
alarm
doesn't set the alarm.
notifies
Or
us in our
no.
bedroom. We have like the little monitor that tells us when the alarm gets turned on or turned off, or if someone opens the door.
Mhm.
So anytime someone comes and goes, we hear it. And that's a problem for him because he
Right.
likes to kind of come and go as he pleases, and he can't because it notifies us and wakes us up.
During the week, right? Don't go out at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning for a walk. Come back at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when the alarm's going off. And the response is, and this is where the hedging comes in. They'll have the conversation. Well, why don't you just turn the monitor off? Because if the monitor's off and you're out for a walk and the door's opening or closing, how am I going to know it's either you or somebody else is breaking into the house? Right? To me, that makes sense. Plus,
I don't think the
well, if the
monitor being
monitor
on
is
tells you that,
monitor
though.
is on, I hear when the door opens or closes.
Right. And so if he leaves and somebody else comes back in, the door's gonna go off, but you don't know who it is coming in, whether it's him or somebody
I know
else.
somebody's
Right?
coming
But you
in,
know
and I'll
somebody's
know if
coming
the
in.
alarm goes
Right.
on, it's him. If the alarm doesn't go on, it's not him. Yeah. Plus, it's
Somebody
like,
else. Right.
So let me back up a second and address a couple things. Um, I had a very similar thought process about my kids. I didn't have an opportunity to teach them a lot of things I wanted to because we had 50-50 custody. Even before that, even when I had more custody, there was just a lot of things going on where
Well, with 4 kids, it's
there was 4 of them, plus they had a massive amounts of homework. It was unbelievable. Like I didn't get to spend a lot of time with my kids, especially in the evenings, because they either had volleyball games or basketball or homework, and the homework was terrible. So all that said, I felt like they didn't get exposure to a lot of things that I thought they should have as well. Some of the things are more life skills. Like if you ask them, can you change a tire? Most of them probably tell you no.
Yeah.
So I don't even think some of them know how to check the air in a tire, much less change it.
no.
But
I had to tell one of them how to do it.
But when they get out on their own, things like picking up the dishes and doing the laundry and all that,
I did
they
see
have
that.
no other option. Like mom's not there, dad's not there. It's amazing they figure these things out.
Mhm.
I say it's amazing, but frankly, my mom did most of my
Dave.
stuff for me when I lived at home,
Dave.
and then when I moved out,
But
And I
yeah,
do it for my baby.
I don't either.
I
And
don't mind taking his plate to the
and
kitchen because, like you
I
said, I'm glad
I really think
and I'm
what's
glad
not being said that it really is the motivating factor behind this for my husband is his anxiety. Like he has very, very high anxiety. And so part of that is why the alarm and the dishes, and he lives in the anxiety of losing control of the things that make him feel comfortable, in his anxiety. And being clean is one of those things. And I'm not saying this in a bad way. But it's as I've gotten to know him more and more and more and more and more, I see that, sometimes these kinds of things, that's what's behind it.
But hold on. All I'm asking is just for order and respect in things that we say as parents that get done, they get done.
that you're not their parent.
And that's exactly what our therapist said too. And the same way.
You're right. Lori,
Exactly.
you're absolutely right. But in running a house, if we agree on something, shouldn't it be followed?
But I don't agree. That's the problem.
You did agree. You used
with the dishes thing. Who cares?
Well, when it affects other people in the house, solely me, or number one, it becomes an issue because number one has said things to number two in the past about some of these things. So it does have that effect there. It has the effect on me. It doesn't have an effect on you because that's where mommy comes in versus parent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but how about you tell mommy
I would
the dishes
love
need
to.
be done instead of the child, because you have that relationship with her that you don't have with her kids, and she has a relationship with them that you don't. You know what I'm saying.
Sometimes there are conversations, sometimes there are arguments, sometimes I'm like, I just got to let it go. Like you say, Nacho kids, they're not my kids, but when it still affects everybody else in the house, something has to be said.
It's not affecting
And number
everybody else,
one,
it's affecting you.
Sort of.
The older.
The older.
Yeah.
The older.
Yeah, they also have, they've always had that competitive brother thing, that kind of goes on. But
oh yeah, I'm better than you. I wash the dishes.
No,
but my oldest is also a lot more responsible, and he's older. He's almost 2 full years older than his brother. So he's graduating from college.
Right.
So he's on a different level than the younger one.
But I will agree. I have a problem with this specific issue right here as the step parent, and it becomes an issue here. Part of it for me is also when you let somebody, you give them a step over the rule or over the boundary, and you let it happen, you don't correct it, then they take 2 steps. Don't correct it, they take 3.
But there was no boundary.
Well,
she didn't agree to it.
She's saying she doesn't agree to it, but she did. Back when we said these are the things that have to be done, she did agree to it. Recently, she's been hedged by number 2 and has been pushed back away from the agreement that we have. And so that's why she's saying right now, I didn't agree to it. See the face?
So
see the face?
So you
I
guys
I just feel like it's
Is
too
that
rigid. And
accurate?
I did say that, guess what? They're going to be gone. They're 20 and 22. They're going to be gone, and they're never going to be living here ever again. So this is my last chance to be a mommy and take care of them when they're here. And they're not even here very often anymore.
Yeah. Right. And you know what? I agree with it. I do. But there needs to be
But
some.
it's not a but. It is or it isn't.
How about an and? There should be some.
Okay.
There may need to also be some level of parenting in there versus just mommy.
So this definitely is a topic that you guys, I think you should revisit it. I understand that you sit down at one point and you're like, these are going to be the rules and these are going to, but
but
you're at the point where it's like, okay, let's revisit this. Let's see if we're still on the same page, because you're obviously not.
Unfortunately, sometimes he says that, it affects the way that he feels about me because I don't agree with the things that he feels he needs with the kids. And that is hard because they're my children. He's my husband. And that's what people also don't necessarily talk about, is that, yeah, you can have an amazing marriage and we are ridiculously happy together. But there are these things that we don't agree on, that it's not, and it is, I can feel the wedges that happen, that come in between us. And it makes me sad,
That's
right. But
I know.
dishes shouldn't come between y'all.
But I look at it as an example. By the way, to me, in the blended family, the kids are extremely important. Okay. They should be the utmost priority, making sure that they're growing up the way that we feel that they need to grow up and be able to go out in life. But I also think the number one priority is each other, is us as that unit. And when I've,
As a
as a
couple,
couple,
not
yeah,
as
yeah,
a
yeah.
parent.
Because I'm not their parent. My wife is not my daughter's parent, but we are a unit. We are what matters most, and that our relationship continues to grow. And the concern I have is when we once agreed, but maybe feelings have changed. To David's point, we have to go back and revisit this. But what worries me is those type of behaviors by the stepchildren, either known or unknown, become an issue between us and separate us as that unit together. I don't want the kids coming between us.
They won't if you don't allow them to. And when I say that, the issues that you have with the kids, I can't help but wonder if you would have the same issue if it was your
We
daughter.
we talked about that, because
And I think, and I'm just throwing this out there, so don't hate me. And I'm not saying this is 100% accurate. This is just what I'm feeling, that, maybe you feel like there's absolutely no control over your daughter and that situation. And so that means so much more to you to have more control in this situation. And I know you're thinking, no, it doesn't have anything to do with it. But I think subconsciously, your daughter not being there makes you, I don't want to say more strict. That's not the word I'm looking
More
for, but
sensitive.
was, yeah, more focused on things
well,
that her kids might do. So when they leave a dish, that's not just a reminder that they're breaking the rules, if you want to call it that, as much as it's also a reminder deep down in your heart that
we
your daughter's
to your
not
point,
there.
we have talked about that. Like, well, we did the projection, we did the what if scenario. And if she was living here, would I be the same way? I would like to believe that I would be, and here's why. Uh, Older brother, twin sister. When we grew up, every Saturday, we had chores that we had to get done before we could go and do anything else. That's it. You had rules, you did them, then you could go have fun, then you could go do what you want. Here, I believe I would feel and do the same thing with my daughter that I want Jen to do with the boys is no dishes in the sink, put them in the dishwasher. By the way, it's not like we're running a military base here. It's real simple. Don't go out at 1 o'clock in the morning. Put the dishes in the dishwasher. It's that simple. But those are examples of things that could get between us and drive the wedge between us. It's not necessarily the rules. It could be anything. It could be anything really.
Yeah,
But
it can,
I'm
because you're
frustrated
frustrated from
because,
it.
and don't take this the wrong way, you're allowing them to get between us.
No, you're allowing them to get between us.
I'm allowing them to get between us because you're not following the rules that we originally agreed on. And mine is getting between us because I'm not handling it the way you want me to handle it.
And then I get resentful because then I think to myself, Lori, I think, well, your daughter's not even here. She's not putting in any effort at all. Right? Nothing. We got nothing. And so he's ragging on my kids because
Yeah, because they're doing it on the slide where mine's outward bound.
she's not doing anything.
Yeah, well, it's two different approaches, two different
You
personalities.
can't protect that. That's bullshit.
That's
Sorry.
Shiduki. It's hard to blend because of the different personalities with the kids, where mine has outwardly said she doesn't like what's happening or she doesn't like my wife. Hers is on the sly and is disrespectful to the rules, and that's the way.
But to me, it's
I
not
don't,
even a comparison at all. Because,
I don't think the
yeah, I
kid's
don't think
going,
so
I'm going to
either.
break the rule. I don't,
Yeah.
I think it's just a kid. He didn't do the dishes. It doesn't matter to him. And to your point, mom's not reinforcing the rule, but mom has had a change of heart on that rule. So it needs to be discussed. And once you make the rules and agree on them, you also have to revisit those things because things can change. But also, I don't care if it's a list on the wall and these are the consequences that y'all agreed to. Y'all even pinky swore and swapped blood, became blood family, whatever you want to call it. If mom does not want to enforce the chores or have anything to do with the punishment that was supposed to be associated, that's her decision.
Because they're my children.
And I know it's
Just like I don't have any control over what happens with his daughter.
Right. So the dishes, don't get mad at
Oh,
the
he
kids.
does.
Get mad at
he
her.
does.
She's letting them do it. But here's the thing is you can get mad at her if you want, but how's that helping your relationship? Why don't, instead of getting mad at her or getting mad about the situation, why don't you just go, hey, honey, can you do the dishes?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Simple. She knows her kid didn't do the dishes.
Like you're
She's not
a lot of
stupid.
dishes.
Yeah. Yeah. If the problem is the dishes, focus on the dishes, not the kid.
Right.
It's like, what if mom came home one day and was like, I just hired Alice, the nanny from the Brady Bunch, and she's going to do all the dishes for us. I can tell you as a dad, you'd be like, that doesn't solve the problem because the boy should be doing the dishes.
Yep. And look, I grew up like you did. And that was part of my problem too, because I grew up, it doesn't matter if it was school, during school or not, you had to do your chores. It was your chores than your
I grew
homework.
up the same way.
That's how important chores were. And it wasn't a question. You knew that you would come within an inch of death if you did not do those chores. So I grew up the same way as you. And I get it because I felt the same way about his kids. If they're not going to know how to do anything, I'm trying to help them. But they didn't need that from me.
Hold on.
They didn't want that from me.
They didn't need it from you, but they still need it because there's a deterioration in our society, generation by generation, where these kids are allowed to do and be more free more and more. But there's less discipline, less responsibility, less accountability on these kids.
Well, that is true. I think a lot of that is because of guilty parent syndrome all across the board. There's more step families now. So the kid at some point is with a parent that doesn't want to parent because they have guilty parent syndrome. She knows you're looking at her, and I know you're looking at her too. But
oh my God.
I think you got a little bit of it too.
Way more than I do. and by the way, what's not being said here.
It's all right. We need to make a T-shirt that says "I have guilty parent syndrome."
Yep.
I'm a recovering guilty parent syndrome.
I don't think you
What's
ever
also
recover.
not being said here is that
100%.
We're here openly talking about the fact that we have a relationship that to a lot of people was birthed out of an affair, right? But and our children, some of whom didn't need to know about it, right? Didn't need to know that it happened. Were told by their parent that this is what happened, and they didn't need to know, but they still found out anyway. Okay. And there is some guilt that has been playing in this for me, right? It's not because I want to be their mommy for the rest of their lives. It's not because I kneel and kiss their feet. It's because I've been trying to heal my relationship with them since 2017.
You feel like you're the reason that they don't have a nuclear family.
What also is not being said is that there is another whole part of my story that my children do not know, and I will not tell them.
Well, my child
and
doesn't.
So I can't. I would never put that burden on them because it's just too deep of a burden, and I don't want them to know it about their dad. So I am like sitting here taking all of the fall, which I'm fine with because it was out there. It's done. We're dealing with it. I'm fine. Whatever it is. But part of it for me has been healing that relationship with me and my boys. And part of that is what he would tell
So
you is babying them.
I'm just curious, did your ex like go buck wild after y'all split up and got in trouble or something like that? And you feel guilty for
Throughout
how he turned
our
out?
marriage, he was involved in things that were extremely inappropriate to the point where, towards the end, he was investigated by the police for
Okay.
behavior online with people.
Okay.
We'll just put it that way.
That's
So,
Okay.
and that's just not something that I'm willing to sit down with my children and say, because it not only would it hurt their feelings, it would also make them wonder, why are you telling me this?
it's easier to have your child grow up hating one parent versus hating both of them, because then they don't know what to trust, what to believe. And I'm saying this because
Is that why you haven't told
yeah,
your daughter that her mom cheated? You know, of course, she's your child. You do what you feels right. I'm kind of the thought process. She's an adult. And for so many years, she's thought you're the bad guy. And you don't have to tell her exactly what happened, but you can just say, look, little Susie, I know this is how you think things happened, but that's not how it happened. Or things happened before then that you're not aware of. So your hatred towards stepmom here is not warranted. And I didn't feel like you should know about that earlier in life, however you want to spin it. But I think she needs to know that she ain't got no right to be mad at y'all, but she still will be anyway.
Yeah. You have to ask yourself, are you helping her by being the martyr, or
That's a
are you
good point.
harming her by being the martyr? I'm not answering the question. I'm not answering it for you.
Right.
I'm just saying you need to ask
I
yourself that
never thought
question.
about
There's
it
no
like
right
that
or wrong
before,
answer
but
necessarily.
yeah.
no, it's always a topic in my mind of telling her or not telling her. I never thought of it that way about the martyr, but to me, it's about when is the right time to tell her? When is she going to be emotionally able to accept it versus not accept it? And she may never accept it if I tell her.
It's
It's
not.
bad that she was told any part of that story,
Yeah.
but the fact that she was told untruth about that story,
Sorry.
Well, half the story.
yeah,
So that's my thing. It's like, okay, I love you enough, daughter, to tell you the complete story, and you can do with it what you want, but at least you know the whole truth, not
The
half the truth.
ex-wife actually said to him in the beginning, she said, "I'm so afraid that you're going to throw me under the bus." And I was like, and then shortly after that, she did it. So it
she
was
did it.
like,
That's why she was afraid, because
Yeah,
he was going to
it
do
was
it.
Yeah, she wanted to beat you
like
to the punch.
unbelievable. She's just,
No, that's exactly what she should have done. From her side, it's like, okay, now I'll put him on the defensive. Anything he says after this is viewed as retaliation for
Yeah.
what he did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's where it's like, well, is she going to hate me even more for outing, the saint of biomom versus, that's not what it is.
You're not outing
Yeah.
her. You're telling facts. You're stating facts.
Yeah, and you can just say, look, I think that you're now at the age where you need to know the full truth. And I'm not telling you this to change your mind or opinion on anything or anybody.
Mhm.
I just want to know that when I leave this earth, you know the full story of why me and your mom are not together. I don't want you to dislike your mom. I don't want you to dislike me, anything. This is simply saying you are old enough and you deserve to know the truth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's it. You're not doing it as you need to know what your mom did and you should hate her as much as you hate
Right.
me.
And you
It's,
could even come across as, you know, I'm not saying that what I did was right or anything like that, because I mean, you confess up to what you did too, of course, but that's not the whole story. And, tell her that you just didn't feel like it was right. before to talk to her about that stuff, but that you feel like she needs to know that it's not fair if you feel that way.
Yeah. And if you do that, I would stay away from, I did this because your mom did that. I would just state the fact.
Right.
Yeah, I would just state the facts. This happened, then this happened, then this happened. That way you're not trying to demonize anybody. You're just telling the story. And then I think that you'll be surprised at how well she takes it.
Yeah.
Now, we're not telling you to go do this and then something happens.
Don't do it at the sorority house.
Listen, bio daughter. I was
Hey, girls, let's have a sorority.
No.
Lori told me to tell you.
They told me to tell you your mama was a hoe before I was a hoe.
Yeah.
So it ain't my fault. Go talk to your mama.
It's just like a farmhouse. We got a bunch of hoes in.
Yep. And two, you don't want her thinking this about you. It's not that stepmom doesn't matter, but she thinks that she don't think too highly of you right now because of something somebody told her years ago.
Think about this, right? I so desperately want my wife and my daughter to have that relationship they had building up to June of 24, because it was nice to see them getting along, and it felt like things were progressing in a way like they were with me in 1 and 2. It felt good. It felt like we were making progress. And all of a sudden, August comes along and it just stops and changes, right? So.
Yeah, but to that point though, part of the problem could be that in her mind, things don't add up. She might be seeing that something's not right and she can't put her finger on it. So not telling her the whole truth could actually be working against you.
Right. And how long after y'all got married did she find out?
In the moment.
She found out in the moment on D-Day. Yeah. In 2017.
They were, well, no, it was a year later. Remember when he asked
great thing about it feeling
his ex-wife for a divorce more than a year after our affair was found out. And when that happened, the bio mom pulled the daughter into the room so that she could hear him saying and talking about everything, and they were crying and the whole thing. So
my daughter was around when it happened, when bio mom and I were having a conversation about getting the divorce. She was witness, not defending bio mom, okay, going on record for that. But I don't recall that she was pulled into the room, but she was present in the moment and heard everything in the why. So from the get-go, she knew.
So as far as she's concerned, that's the entire reason why your relationship dissolved.
And that's the point I'm driving to, is I would love for it to be back to the way it was with the build up to June.
What happened after that summer? Something happened.
This is just last year when we were down in Florida. Everything was going well. Things were good. And then we come home. We're still doing the
I think she means before that.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, things were good. Things were good in Florida. And then at the end of summer.
Well, things got bad between me and her because she had a credit card.
Well, there were other things too, but
whatever it might be. And I said, no, you can't go to Starbucks every single day with a credit card. I'm not paying for your Starbucks. Given your allowance, if you got a job, if you want to pay for that, pay for it. I'm not paying for your Starbucks. I give you an allowance. You want to go and spend your money on it, that's fine. I don't care. But I'm not paying for your Starbucks or this or this or this or that. I said,
right. So she got mad at you. And so
but before that happened, she and I had our first, I think I mentioned this before, we had our first time out together alone ever. And she was so afraid that her mom would find out. She actually left her phone behind because she didn't want she didn't want her mom to know that we were out together. And then shortly after that, the issues with the credit card came up. She was misusing the credit card And then there were other money things too. Like she said, well, mom spent this amount of money for me for college. Now you owe me the difference that, yeah. So it was this very entitled kind of attitude. I feel like maybe she was testing him or something. I don't know what was going on. But then she blamed me because she said that she thought I was the one that was telling him not to give her money. And so like she
Well, she's probably
I'm
regurgitating what she heard
sure.
her
I'm
mom
sure
say.
that some of
Right.
it, yeah.
So your daughter, you've got to heal that relationship with her first before that relationship
Yes.
with her and your wife can heal. And it
Yes.
can get back to where it was. It can get back to better than it was. Your daughter has a real fear, it sounds like, of hurting her mom.
Mhm.
Because in
Correct.
her head, you hurt her mom. The only person that mom
Oh,
has is
yeah.
her.
Yeah. Yeah. Both of y'all hurt mom.
Yep.
So the closer she is to you guys, the more she's showing her mom that she's okay with the people who hurt her.
Yeah, I can't like or love the person that my
Yeah.
dad cheated on my mom with. That's wrong to my mom.
Yes.
Yep. And that's the way people feel. I got things that happens in my family and has happened in my family that was similar. Even when I got divorced, ex was going to my parents' house, to pick up the kids, and she'd sit there and
Yeah,
have
there's
dinner
some
with them. I'm
similar
like, what the
things
crap?
with us too. His sister doesn't talk to him anymore, ever. His brother
Fine.
very rarely. But I mean, there's other family. Like I have friends and family. We have friends and family who were like, who know us as people, and we're like, we're here for you. What do you need? How can we help? We know like our close
Yeah.
friends, and
Because they know the whole story. They don't judge us. They love us for who we are versus those people, whether they're friends or family, that
But
have listened to one, like my side, right? They listen to one side of the story, they judge me, and then like, nope, not going to talk to you. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. You go support X, you be with X, that's fine. When the full story comes out somewhere down the road, maybe you'll think differently. But if you don't, that's fine. If you're not going to love and support me, I don't want you in my life.
the ex called the entire
So who-
family on his side and told her version of the story, the whole thing. And he didn't feel the need to defend himself, which I kind of admire, to be honest with you. Like, why should I have to defend myself to my own family? But at the same time, it's like it really affected his relationships because she's a master manipulator. So she just completely, like, to the point where he was not invited to Christmas at his sister's house, but his ex-wife was, to your point.
Well, I was invited later, but you and I were together, and out of respect for us, it made sense.
I wasn't welcome.
Right. And if you're not welcome, I'm not going.
So my viewpoint on it is kind of the same as your daughter. I think people deserve to know the full picture so they can make the decision about how they want to handle that with all the information. Because right now it seems like there's more than just your daughter maybe that doesn't even have all the information. I would look. Here's
I call a family reunion
get
and get a stage.
some nachos.
We'll have a big podcast. We'll just have another
Serve some
podcast
nachos.
and invite them all on. And then you guys can tell our story.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah,
You can be the narrator.
It must be like those
of
radio
our-
shows,
you can just send them this one.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I'm just of the opinion that the more information people have, they can make a more informed decision. If after having the information, they still go, well, you still suck as a human, great.
And even if she says, I don't believe you, you say, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me
Don't
tell you this
argue
story.
it.
So,
Yeah.
2.5 weeks ago, a friend reaches out and says, hey, I could use some advice on working out, right? Specifically resistance training. We wanted to try a gym that we go to. I was like, absolutely sure. We needed Starbucks 2 weeks ago, and I haven't seen him in 8 years, right? This is a friend where we had a small group of guys. We used to do, I can probably say the name on here. We did Adventure Princesses and these Indian guides, where the dads and daughters go out on, every month we do an event, bowling or camp outs or whatever. So we all had.
Oh, yeah, sucks. We can't hear you.
The apparently the microphone's going through the other headset.
That's why we couldn't hear him as good anyway.
Yeah, we can't hear you at all.
Sorry.
I thought those things worked on both of them.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that. Well, there
Can you hear
once
me
in a
now?
while, he faded out.
Yeah, I did too. But
Oh, okay.
No.
yeah, hear you fine. I can't hear him. I think yours has the microphone.
Okay. Sorry,
His
my
has
bad. The TV downstairs was
earpiece.
so loud. I'm sorry. The TV was downstairs was so loud, and the dog started barking.
I wonder why you sounded better than
Would
he
you do
did.
me a
Now it
favor?
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Did you fill up my Yeti with ice water?
Now I can hear him great.
All right. Can you guys hear me now? All right. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, I meet up with my friend and we're sitting there just kind of catching up and we're talking about this, talking about that. Cause he's made some major strides in his life to better his health, and a fantastic guy. Admire him for what he's doing. I hope that he continues in the path that he's going. And since we haven't talked in 8 years, right, we just started catching up on what's going on. How are you? What's this? What's that? Right. And without telling him the story first, he told me that, and I think the phrase was, yeah, she was a poison. Everybody knows it. Everybody saw it. And then I told him the story of like what she had done. Right. So to me, it's like, and why am I telling you that? I'm halfway around the circle, right? I'm coming around at the beginning. The reason I'm telling you this is because there are people in life that are always going to see part of the picture and don't want to see the rest of the picture because they have the reason to hate me. They heard the story, they're going to hate me. And this is just another building block on the wall between me and them that they're putting there. But there's other people to me that I think are more open-minded, that don't judge first, don't jump first. They sit and they listen. They make up their own opinion, their own thought process based on their own experiences. And they see people, I'm not saying the right way, they see people the way they see people, not the way somebody tells them to see a person. Okay. So to me, in that moment, justified isn't the right word. There's a word I'm looking for: gratification, satisfaction, whatever it might be, that other people around see her for the person that she was, of her own doing. Now, 3/4 around the circle here, right? I chose in this situation to bow out of, trying to tell my side of the story. People will see their side of the story when it's right for them to see that side of the story. Now,
nobody will know about it because
right,
you're not telling anybody.
Yeah, because if you take,
there's another side.
So let's take your friend for example.
One moment. Those people that want to love me and don't judge me, they're going to migrate to me. They're going to listen, and I'm going to tell them, and they're going to be on my side. Those that don't bother in the moment, I'm not going to bother with. Does that make sense?
Nope.
Well, I mean, I see what he's saying. He's saying that he's kind of separating the wheat from the chaff. He's like, I don't care about these folks because they don't care about me. They don't even deserve
an explanation.
The explanation of what actually happened. I don't disagree with you on that. I think your daughter does need to know the story. I don't think these other people who could care less, like it's not going to change their opinion of you, no matter what you tell them. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that at all.
But what about your sister?
She knows and doesn't care. Know? She just wants everybody to be happy. She's off living her own life. And by the way, has been through some of the same situation that we've been in. but has still decided to shun me and doesn't correspond with me whatsoever at all unless she absolutely has to.
I think she's been looking for reasons to not.
Right. That we kind of hit on that a little bit while you were gone.
Yeah.
But okay, so.
Well, how often do you see stepdaughter now? Yeah, how often?
Me, man, Mr. Mr. Man. Can you tell me what movie that's from? Blues Brothers. Come on. Okay. So, well, first off, my daughter's in another state, 6 hours away at college. Okay. So, when I was in my own place, we would see each other every couple of days, every other weekend, that kind of thing. Right. Since I moved here, it became, well, it kind of depended. In the beginning, we weren't working out. We weren't doing a lot of stuff together. Then we were working out together. So it was every weekend coming back here, having breakfast, that kind of stuff. But now that she's away at school, I see her once when she comes home for a week, and we'll go get breakfast. We'll catch up. We'll talk, whatever it might be. We'll go to, like, over Christmas break, we went to, the dinner and movie places. We have one out here. We went and did that. We got breakfast. We did presents. We did see each other a couple of times. So it's getting, it's diminished significantly, obviously, but the circumstances are that she's at college, so I'm not going to see her. But now when she comes home for the summer, right now where she lives is about 25 minutes away. Now, when they close and they move to the boyfriend's house, it's going to be about an hour away. So I don't know how often I'm going to see her. It's going to be more of an effort, which I'm more than willing to make and do. But to get back to the point coming around the circle, back to David's point, is, yeah, I'm weeding those people out. The people who truly support and love me and us are going to be right by our side. And to the point with Katie, to the point with my daughter, I have struggled with telling her whether I should or shouldn't tell her and whether or not she's ready for it. And because she is,
Would you like that with her about everything? He often overthinks really anything that he says to her and rightfully so, because if he says anything wrong, she's hightailing it out of their relationship and he's back to square one.
Not anymore.
But she has all the control. She just leaves.
She can have the control, but what she doesn't realize is I've got control over me and what I think and feel and do. She can get upset. If she's upset, you know what? That's fine. Go get upset. I don't care.
Right. But what I'm saying is that piece of it is what stops you from being honest with her.
Well, there's back to this point we were talking about earlier. Lori mentioned it. She sees it. She goes, you are in the process of still rebuilding your relationship with your daughter before you can actually continue to rebuild your relationship.
That's absolutely right.
And unfortunately, that's been the cycle where me with daughter are continually in this cycle of rebuilding it collapses, which makes it hard for stepmom to then come into the picture and rebuild that relationship, or I should say, start all over from the beginning. And that's what becomes difficult between stepmom and daughter when it's hard for dad and daughter to begin with.
Maybe he does need a level set with her. I mean, I predict if that happens that she would be upset about it at first, because I think she feels like Hannah said, anything he says and does that is about his ex-wife that's taken as negative, she takes as an attack on both of them, because we are to blame for how her life has been since age 12.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have to wrap it up here, but you guys have a lot of stuff to figure out.
We have a lot of podcasts to fill.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we were able to give you some advice on, some things to think about. We're not telling you what to do, but just think about some of the things we discussed. The daughter's relationship, what she should know or not know, how to better handle the dishes and the differences of opinion
Yeah.
on how that should go. You definitely don't want to damage your relationship, because at some point the kids are gone and they got their own families, and then you two are left staring at each other going, now who's going to get the dishes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now mom can scratch my back.
Yeah.
So, but we really appreciate having you guys on and telling your story. And I'm sure there's a lot of other folks that probably have a lot of similar things happening in their life.
Hope really in the end, I
really
really hope
good.
that talking about these things, and you guys too, obviously, because you have your own podcast about it, helps somebody else who, has a similar situation. And ours is one that people don't like to talk about. So here we go.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
I appreciate your advice.
Yep.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Take care.
All right, thanks. All right, folks, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. And remember that life is good.
And it really is when you nacho.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nacho Kids Podcast. Find us online at nachokids.com. Until next time, remember, life is good when you nacho.